All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I'm Brother Kazak with Sons of Zion Houston, along with.
Brother Kasadi is Sons of Zion, Houston.
And I'm Alashar of the Sons of Zion Baltimore camp.
All praises. All praise to the Most High. Hey, welcome to another episode of Faith by Works, where we learn a new commandment week in and week out, right, to perfect and edify our ways in proving our faith in the Most High God, right? Because we understand through the scriptures that, hey, showing forth our faith, showing forth our fear, and great reverence unto the Most High God is measured through our actions. All right. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the book of Colossians, right? Chapter 3 and verse 17. And it reads, "And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah, giving thanks to Yahweh, the Father by him." So everything that we do, right, is by Hashem Yahweh Shah. That's why we say, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem wa Malak Yahweh Shah. That's giving all honor and glory in the Paleo Hebrew to who the world vaguely calls God by way of his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is the book of James, chapter 2, and verse 14. "What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?" Right? So is it enough? Right? Is that, is that enough? Just simply saying, "Hey, I got faith." Right? A lot of our, so-called Christian brother and sisters, right, who are, subscribed to, you know, uh, uh, that false religion, they say, "Hey, look, I believe, I got a relationship with him." But is this enough? Verse 17, it says, "Even so, faith, if it had not works, is dead being alone. Ye a man say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works." So you show your love, your fear, and your reverence unto the Most High God with your works. So that's why we created this platform, this series on the Milk Channel, so that you can learn the commandments week in and week out to edify your walk, right? We have to desire the sincere milk of the scriptures and actually pursue the Most High God as a baby in this thing. You understand? So that's why it's very, very important. We often go out into the highways and hedges and do what? We say, hey, brother, or hey, sister, how many commandments do you know? And they can give us three off the top of their head. They don't even know that it's over 613 commandments, right? So, with the love and sincerity of our people, right, we created this, this series on YouTube, right? This is the book of First John, chapter 3 and verse 18. It says, "My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth," right? So, when we think about that, right, it's really pointless to say that you love the Most High God when you don't show forth the actions. All right. So the commandment of this week is, all right, astrology, on how it's abominable and how the Most High God sees it. Right. So we're gonna be jumping into the history of astrology. All right. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, and verse 19. It says, "Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations unto the whole heaven." So what do we have today? A lot of our people, right, they subscribe to these horoscopes, right? They actually put forth this as the direction of their lives. They wake up and they read these horoscopes, right? They actually identify with, Capricorn, Pisces, Libra, Sagittarius, and so on and so forth, right? But today, we're going to show forth who your God is. Today, we're going to show you the history of astrology and how it's complete BS, okay? And how the Most High God feels it, right? We're going to dive straight into it and get some research on it. We're going to do some research on the horoscopes, and we're going to see how the Most High God feels about our subscriptions to this to this nonsense. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it right to Brother Kasadi. You go ahead, brother, and get in there.
Khan, Shalom, Israel. So the point of today is to just kind of peel back the veil that's been cast over our people, first and foremost, because at the end of the day, we all knew that we all understand that the heathen, they had no type of That's what I'm looking for. They had no type of confusion on this matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the heathen were always into the worship and the idolatry, the idolizing of the stars, the moon, the sun, the host of heaven, if you will, right? That's something that our people, we were not into because we were given the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, right? We had the one true God, the Most High Power. So what we're getting ready to get into today simply is the ways that we have taken from the heathen nations, right? Here, I'm gonna get this precept real quick. I'm gonna get 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and I'm gonna start at verse 38, just for sake of time, right? It says, but God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. Right? It says there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star different from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption, right? So what is that saying, right? That there's differences between what flesh, spirit, basically, at the end of the day. And the difference doesn't necessarily mean that just because one sits higher, that it has that spiritual, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank.
Authority.
There you go. That spiritual authority, as the heathen will look at the sun, moon, and the stars. Just because it sits higher doesn't mean it has that authority over what a fleshly man of Israel, right? At the end of the day, the heathens are dismayed at the signs of heaven, at the hosts of heaven. The heathens are the ones that look at what the sun, the moon, and the stars are doing, and they deem it as having some type of power over them, when in all actuality, as the brother brought out, there is really no authority when you look at it at that carnal of a level, right? So let's get into what we're going to get into, right? This is the book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 25, right? It says, have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel, right? Obviously, it's the Most High talking to the house of Israel, right? It says, but ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and Chiun, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves, right? So now we're seeing two different pagan deities, right? We got Moloch and we got Chiun. Moloch is one that we kind of allude to a lot here in this series, right? We got Moloch was where you derive your Santa Claus from, right? Moloch would be what your golden bull, right? I don't know if brothers been in New York. They got that bull on Wall Street where they come and they make obeisance before it, and then it kind of touches private parts or whatever. That's all Moloch, right? Chiun. Chiun is a name that doesn't really go out that much, right? If we jump to the book of Acts, chapter 7, we see the same verse, but another name used, right? Acts 7, we're gonna go to verse 42, right? It says, and then God turned and gave them up to worship the hosts of heaven. As it is written in the book of the prophets, O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? So automatically we see that they're saying the same thing that it was saying in Amos, right? It says, yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your God Remphan, right? So now we see a different name. Moloch is still the same, but instead of Chiun, we see a name called Remphan. Hold on real quick. Salakia, my son wants to sing a song for y'all. So we see a name called Rimfan, right? Instead of the name Chiun. Now I'm about to share my screen real quick. And brothers, let me know if they see it. We're going to go to the Blue Letter Bible first and foremost. Boom. Ready to see that?
You good? Just zoom in for the people a little bit, and you good. Can go ahead and cook.
Gotcha. Right. So we see the etymology in Strong's H3559, right? The word chiun. That's what we got in Amos, right? It says an image or pillar, right? Probably a statue of the Assyrian Babylonian god of the planet Saturn, and used to symbolize Israelite apostasy, right? Now, what does that word apostasy means? For the sake of time, I'm not going to share my screen, but I got to pull it up in the Merriam-Webster. It says an act of refusing to continue to follow, obey, or recognize a religious faith, abandonment of a previous loyalty, right? Why do I bring that word out? Well, obviously, it was in the definition, right? If we go back to the book of Amos and finish that out, Amos 5:27. Here's the judgment for following after this thing, right? It says, therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, said the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts, right? Now, he says that for a reason. First and foremost, let's deal with the punishment. We were sent into captivity because of that idolatry, right? We were sent into captivity for worshiping another God above the God that's over us, right? The God that's been there for us and with us from the beginning. We chose to turn our back on him and to worship a star. Contrary to popular belief, these planets from Mercury down to Pluto are only stars, right? It's the heathen that make them a body bigger than the earth because they worship him as such. But they're all stars at the end of the day. Saturn is a star. That's why the Most High said, because you worship your star, right? And then he ends the verse. Amos ends the verse. It says, the Lord whose name is the God of hosts, right? Hosts is armies. Armies or a congregation, right? And it's pretty much put in the Most High in his rightful place. Even he is the Most High power of these celestial bodies that the heathens, even our people, are worshiping. So when we look at Chiun, the Babylonian god of the planet or star Saturn, right? Again, in the book of Acts, it goes by a different name. I'm about to stop sharing this and I'm going to share a different screen. Brothers, let me know if they see. Slovakia. What is that screen? Boom. Quick Google search, right? Brother, see that? So it's an AI overview. Rimfan, right? I want you to look over to the right side of the screen. It says, also transliterated as Romfan, Remfan, Refan, or Rifan, also transliterated as Tium, right? So we understand that this is the same deity, so to speak, that's being referred to in both Acts chapter 7 and Amos chapter 5. So let's look at it, right? I found a very interesting video. And we're not going to play all of it. We're just going to play just a little bit of it.
Today I was doing a little more research on the star.
Brother, see that?
Con.
Okay, fair use.
Of David, or the Seal of Solomon, and its connection to Freemasonry. Here it is with the Freemasons temple, and once again, Jacqueline and Boaz with the throne shall be established. And I've pretty much come to the conclusion it should be called the Seal of Solomon because it doesn't really have anything to do with David. David didn't use it. It seems that Solomon is the one who started using it for magical purposes, it seems like. Here, this looks like a grimoire or a spell book, and it's handwritten by Albert Pike. The square and compass, triangle, the Seal of Solomon, and the triangle with the G, another square and compass. Certainly looks rituals. This is a magic book. Here's a very early fireback from the colonial America, where we have the square and compass, the Seal of Solomon, as well as a 5-pointed star or pentagram. And the same thing here with a cross over top, but on one side we have the Seal of Solomon, and here the pentagram. And the Freemasons arguably think that this symbol is more important than the square and compass itself. So when I was reading in Acts 7:43 today, I thought it was pretty interesting. It said, it's talking about the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphan, figures which you made to worship, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. And this is Moses talking to the Jews, the children of Israel, and in reference to the tabernacle of Moloch, we have the star of the god Remphan. So the first thing I did was check my concordance under Remphan, and it says an idol worshipped by Israel in the wilderness, perhaps the same as Chiun or Saturn. And it's only mentioned one time in the Bible. It is Acts 7:43. And that led me to this book where it's called The History and Practice of Magic, and I don't necessarily like reading books.
So that's all I needed, is that it's tied to Saturn, right? This star that the scriptures are talking about is something that we still see and use today, right? And granted, we do see some Israelites using this 6-pointed star, but it's mostly the people who the world identifies as the children of God who use this quote unquote star. And the star is a magic symbol, right? That fully identifies that they worship a certain star, the star called Saturn, right? And Saturn worship. At the end of the day, we talk about the days of the week. We brought that out a few lessons back. And you understand, because I brought it up, that each day of the week is named after a pagan deity, right? Well, the day Saturday is literally named after the same pagan deity, right? And before we get too far into it, the Edomite brought up the fact that this star was called the Seal of Solomon. Well, where does that come from? Well, we're going to the scriptures and figure out exactly what he's talking about next go around. And now you.
So to keep it simple, man, like the brother said, when we get into the astrology, the horoscopes, and all of these other things, it's not going to line up to what we have in the scriptures. And this is not going to line up to a practice, a belief system, or any acknowledgement that our forefathers, our righteous forefathers, did and kept. So when it comes to, reverencing your horoscope, whether you're a Leo, whether you're a Gemini, Aries, or any of these things, right? Referencing these things, believing in these things, and giving these things dominion over your belief, meaning, hey, guess what? I'm a Leo, therefore I'm XYZ. When you have this mindset, it's a sin. And just to keep it simple and plain. And that's pretty much what we're going to be going over. So let me get this precept in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse number 22. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. I'm going to read it one more time. Deuteronomy 16 and 22. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. Right. So when you're going into the images, what are the images that are behind what we're talking about? You got the symbols. Can we pull that up, Babusha? Like a chart of like the symbols, like Leo got the symbol with the circle on the line, Gemini, they got all the emojis for it and stuff like that. Right, just pull up a chart of the symbols of that stuff. The brother Casadia just went into an image as well, right? Sometimes our people look at that image and treat it like the cross, man. You understand that? They treat it like the cross because they make them think of the Lord and make them think of righteous things. And that's not the correct way to go about things, right? So you got different symbols. I don't even recognize any of them, but I know like a few of them. But you got symbols that represent your birth month. You feel what I'm saying? And you see that they got a sun in the middle of it. We're gonna go to the book of Psalm chapter 11, verse 5, but you see they got the sun in the middle of it because they say you got a rising sun and you got a falling moon and all these other things, man. The point is that these things are going to be sin because the Most High God said we can't set up images as a reference to our belief. Us being in this truth, we don't have no image that is a reference to our belief. I'm not going to Google I'm not going to Google a black Jesus just because I found out that he's a so-called black man in America. And I'm going to put it up on my wall, man. And that's going to remind me of righteousness every time. No, that's not how we go about things. We got to keep things spiritual, man. So these are these images that people set up and people look at it and it recognizes them of whatever folly that they believe in from their birth month and birth date is a sin. So let's go to the book of Psalm chapter 11, verse 5. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 11, verse 5. It says, the Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth the violence, his soul hateth. Right, so David is saying, hey, guess what? The Most High God, he's going to try the righteous. But when it comes to the wicked, meaning people that indulge in sin, and then also it says him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. Which is to say, hey, guess what? The sin and the sinner, the Most High God is going to hate. The Most High God is going to feel a certain type of way of because the Most High God is a jealous God. God is jealous, man. You understand that? I'm going to get another precept real quick. I'm going to pass it in the book of Sirach 24. So the Most High God is jealous. And I'm going to read a reason right now. So now that you've learned that these things are a sin, right? This is a sin. Meaning this goes against the commandments. This goes against the law. This goes against, the overall moral compass that we are supposed to abide by in this truth. And I'm going to tell you why with this precept about how the Most High God can be jealous of these things and why he's going to hate these things. So not only is it a sin, but it goes into the mental aspect of it too. So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 24 and verse number 25. It says, I'm going to start at verse number 24. Sirach 24 and verse 24. Think not to be strong in the Lord, that he may confirm you. So the Lord confirms us, not what we wake up and see on our phone from some white lady in her basement decided to put on a blog post, man, about what your financial success is going to be for the month because your birthday this month. So the Most High God confirms us. Let's read on. It says, verse number 24, cleave unto him. The Lord Almighty is God alone, and besides him there is no other Savior. Verse 25 is the point. He filleth all things with his wisdom, as Faison and as tigers in the time of the new fruits. All right, so the Most High God says he fills all things with his wisdom. So, yes, when you look at the moon and you look at the sun, there are things that you can determine, and there is wisdom that you can get from these things. You can understand whether that's to come in the future. You can understand the spirits that men and people is going to be moving in the future, things like that. The same thing Issacharites did. They had a strong understanding of the times. They would look at the moon, they'll look at the sun, they'll know seasons is coming up. That's what it's for. The sun and the moon, well, the moon is used for times and seasons. You understand that? So there is information and wisdom that you can gather from looking at the sun and looking at the moon, but this is not the way that people do it in the world. Is not what the Most High said. God said that we can do. So of course, like the brother Kazak said in the introduction, we always got to refer back to the scriptures. We always got to refer back to the law to see how we can determine these things and do it righteously. That brother got
Con, mighty points by both brothers. And interesting, research material gathered by Brother Casadia to crack it off. Right. So I'm gonna get an article real quick, and kind of edify in accordance to that article. Right. We're gonna go to the Time website, right, where I got an article, and I also showed you, the picture in reference to Brother Alishai's edification, right? So right here in the middle, you got the sun, and then around it, you have the different symbols that he was going into in accordance to the different zodiac signs, right? Down here, you got damn, it's been so long since I didn't really just looked at this crap. But you got the Libra, you might have Capricorn there and Pisces there and all of that madness, right? So that's what he was referring to, right? Just to give you a picture of it. But when we dive into this article, right, it talks about the history of the 12 signs, and the information that I'm gathering is right here. Where did zodiac signs come from, right? It says right here, the stars are just one of the many things in the natural world that human beings have turned to for answers over the years. Now let's actually go to the scriptures, right? When we actually go to the scriptures, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 9. It says, a man's heart deviseth his own way. Zodiac signs, right? Which you see right before you. It says, but the Lord directeth his steps. I'm going to get another one. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 37, and I'm going to start at verse 12. It says, but be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord. Right? And in other words, they're saying you need to choose, right, very carefully who you choose as your counselor. Okay? It's not the things of this world. It's not the actual heathens that have, held you in captivity. Reading on, it says, what? Whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee, if thou shalt miscarry. And let the counsel of thine own heart stand, for there is no man more faithful unto thee than it. For a man's mind is sometime wont to tell him more than 7 watchmen. Here's the point: that sit above in on high tower. And above all this, pray to the Most High, that he will direct thy path in truth. So we understand not the stars, right? Not the moon and not the sun directs your paths. We understand that the Most High God is the one that directs our steps. Okay. He's the one that is the ultimate, all right, knowledge. Okay. We need to learn more of his ways, his statutes, and be more like him. I'm going to give one more, right? Actually, 2 more. I'm going to go to the book of Psalm, chapter 139, and start at verse 1 from the top. It says, O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me, right? This is a prayer unto the omniscient God. Omniscient is defined as one who knows all. Okay. He is the wisdom. Okay, he is the creator of all things, right? When we look in Genesis, and we're going to get it, the Most High God is the one that created the stars. So why are we worshiping him, and why are we looking towards him for direction? You understand? Picking back up, it says what? Thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. He knows when you're going to wake up. He knows when you're going to fall asleep. It says what? Thou understandest thy thought afar off. Thou compasseth, which is one that gives direction, right? The root word is compass, right? Thou compasseth my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. So the Lord knows your thoughts. He knows your words, what you're going to say right before you even say them. You understand? He is the one that directs you. Okay. We don't have free will, and we shouldn't be looking at stars for direction. Okay. Reading on, it says what? It says, Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. Hey, the knowledge of the Most High God is too wonderful. Who can understand it? It says what? It is high. I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Hey, Gabor was cooking on this the other night, man. Right? Who can understand the Most High God's mental capacity? All right. It says what? It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. So he's the creator of the heavens. Hey, he's the one that puts us in affliction, right? Or what we understand is hell. You understand? So what we have to understand is who is the creator of all things. Okay, who is the omniscient God? And that same God, right, Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shah, is the creator of all things. So why are we worshiping the creation and not the creator? Right? And who is the creator? Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14, it says, And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Talking about what? The sun. You understand? It says, And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Does it say we need to look forward for direction, right? On how to move? Do we look forward for stereotypical things on us personally? Does it say any of that? Hey, does it say anything about planets? You understand? That's another misunderstanding. Our people think that there's a solar system with what other 9 other planets. Hey, when we see the 7 days of which our wonderful Lord and our terrible God created everything, does it mention planets? La It's dogma. It's foolishness that the chief fox of this earth, right? The border of wickedness, right? Esau, okay? These are the people who have placed these things in our mind to kind of prepare us to go astray when it's talking about astrology. You understand? Because in a young age, what did we learn in school? We learned about the different planets, putting them in order, and all this and that and the third. So now look how everything is. The preparation, right? When we look in the book of Psalm chapter 83 from the top, it says what? Let us come and make a confederate against thee. Let's separate them from their God. So it's a lot of strategic things put into place to prepare us for us going off and following astrology, right? Reading on, it says what? It says, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, not direction. Okay. Reading on, it says, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So what sense does that make? What sense does that make to worship the stars, the sun, and the moon? And recognize them as your direction, your God? What sense does that make? We have to think about these things, man. I just wanted to make that one point. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm gonna go ahead and pass it. You got it, brother Kasadi.
Mighty points by both of the brothers, right? So just to keep continuing in on what they were speaking on, right? The whole theme of the video, the worship of the sun, moon, and stars. So the last time we was up here, we had a video playing. Esau was talking about Solomon, how Solomon brought these things into play, right? And I'm gonna get this in the book of 1 Kings chapter 11. We'll start from the top, right? It says, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass that Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord as David his father, right? Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon, right? Now, there's a lot of names that just got said here, right? When you actually look into these names, the first one being Ashtaroth, right? Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians. Real quick, I had something earlier and I exited out on accident, but we'll get into it here in a second. Ashtoreth. Let me share my screen. Again, we got to look these things up with their biblical definition. Everybody see that?
Khan, you great.
Ashtoreth equals star, the principal female deity of the Phoenicians, worshipped in war and fertility. Also Ishtar of Assyria, and Astarte by the Greeks and Romans. Right? Stop sharing this, and I'm gonna share this other screen. See, a lot of these names, family, we look at them and we kind of just let them go by the wayside. But there's a lot of history. The Most High God was really telling us something that we have to actually look at. It says every single word is pure, right? Brother, see this.
Khan.
It says Ashtoreth, right? The false goddess of the moon. Known by many names, this false goddess of the moon is sometimes seen as a consort or female counterpart to the sun god, Baal, aka Chemosh, Molech, etc. So there goes two other names that we done seen. So now we got a moon goddess and we have a sun god, right? Let's keep reading on the moon goddess real quick. It says, lulled in by his pagan wives, King Solomon built a temple to worship Ashtoreth, which was later torn down by King Josiah, who brought Israel back to God. The places of worship of this goddess are often comprised of a grove with a carved tree located in the center. As a goddess of love, worship often consisted of sensuality and prostitution, and its leaders also practiced divination and fortune telling. Below are the names of moon, sky, heaven, and love goddesses that likely share the same or similar origin, right? So these are different names of the same deity, right? You got Ashtaroth, you got Astarte, you got Anath, you got Atargatis, you got Ishtar, you got Isis, you got Hathor, and you got Aphrodite, right? And then you got that perfect precept at the end. There's nothing new under the sun, right? So that Ishtar name, right? That Ishtar name, what people don't understand is that's where we get the celebration of Easter. Ishtar was a Mesopotamian goddess of fertility, right? Slovakia. But I'll pull out the Britannica. Share my screen again. Again, it's a lot of research went into this. I'm doing a lot of screen sharing. Right? Ishtar, the same person, right? Brother, see that?
Con.
Says Ishtar is in Mesopotamian religion, goddess of war and sexual love. Ishtar is considered a member of the special class of Mesopotamian gods called whatever, right? Ishtar is the Akkadian counterpart of West Semitic god Astarte, right? So again, it's saying that this is the same person, the same people, right? And there's a reason for it. Lucky if I can let's see. Let's see. Slovakia, let me find this preset real quick. Book of Genesis, chapter 11, from the top, right? There's a reason why these same deities being worshipped by different names, right? This is the book of Genesis, chapter 11, from the top. It says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, mind you, this is after the flood, right? It says, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this thing they began to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth, and they left off to build the city, right? Therefore, the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So this is why we have these same couple of quote unquote deities being worshipped by a myriad of different names, right? Again, Astaroth is Ishtar. That's where you get your Easter celebration from. And Easter is literally just a celebration of what? The vernal or the spring equinox. And that's why every single year it takes place during what? After the first full moon of springtime. Stop sharing my screen real quick. And then you see certain things that people like to do. Brother, still hear me?
Yeah, you good. I think you had
Brother,
froze
still
up
hear me,
for
right?
a second. Yeah, you good.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, kind of. So like it, little man kind of turned off my internet.
You good?
Kind of. So again, this Astaroth person is where we get your Easter celebration from, right? And what do we like to do in these Easter celebrations? Again, Astaroth is a so-called goddess, right? We don't think that the Lord talked about all of these things in his word. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, and verse 18, right? Verse 17. It says, "Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger." Right? Who is this queen of heaven? But Ishtar, this Astaroth, right? What cakes could they be possibly making for Ishtar, right? Well, the so-called hot cross buns that are a tradition during the Easter celebration, right? That's literally a sacrifice being made to this Astaroth person, right? We can keep going. Jeremiah chapter 44 and verse 17. It says, "But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil." Right. So they also burn incense to the Queen of Heaven. Right. What is this that especially Northern Kingdom like to do during the Easter celebration? They like to get those long cylindrical candles that have like the picture of Mary on the front, and they like to burn those things in front of a so-called altar, right? These are things that translate to very actions that we see today, but we don't understand them because we don't take time to look at all of these names, right? The whole idea of worshiping sun, moon, and stars, well, it encompasses what we know today as religion, not just zodiacs. And the brothers are doing a fantastic job bringing in the whole zodiac idea, but it goes way deeper, right? Not only is zodiac or astrology a religion in and of itself, religion in and of itself stems from the same practice of worshiping sun, moon, and stars. And with that, I yield.
I wanted to touch on the point that Kazak brought out earlier about, you know, what the moon and the stars is actually used for in their proper context, and for them being signs. We got to keep in mind that in this world, science is a teaching system that goes against God in every shape, way, form, or fashion. When you think about having different galaxies and the Big Bang Theory, and man developed from fish, or man developed from whatever, monkeys and all that other stuff. You understand that? These things are ideologies put in place because the belief system in the Most High God and them don't equate. They know that how they build up this place, America, and if in order for them to roll out their institutions and teaching science and things of that nature, that it's not gonna match up. You can only be a hypocrite to a certain extent, man. You understand that? You know how you built up this country off of rape, robbery, and murder, but at the same time, in your institutions and your schools, you teach that, hey, guess what? God did all of this. Like, that wouldn't work out. So guess what? The human brain developed something that was just so convenient to say, we think the earth created itself, and we have galaxies here, galaxies there, things of that nature. So you got to keep in mind, when you talking about science and you looking into science and things like that, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Are some scientific findings true? Yeah. During the fall season, you know what I'm saying? Chemicals make the leaves change. It's of the Most High God, but you have the elements of the earth. You have the elements in the earth that cause certain things to happen, certain things to change. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, is what I'm saying. Understanding that the moon is used for something specific, and the scriptures provide us that. Also, I wanted to touch on Brother Kasadi. I had to step away. I had to charge my computer, so Salaki. But I heard you bring out 1 Kings 11. Did you go into Judges 10 or no? No.
La-
I know you Kings though. So let's go to the book of Judges, chapter 10, verse 6. Judges chapter 10, verse number 6. And it reads, and the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. So, like I was bringing out earlier, you know, this is evil, it's a sin. And served the Baalim and Ashtaroth and the gods of Syria and the gods of Sidon and the gods of Moab and the gods of the children of Ammon and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord and served not him. All right, so what I want to get into real quick is, okay, it's a sin by serving these other gods. They're not serving the Most High God, but how? What is it exactly that they're doing? What is it exactly that we're doing right now that's not serving the Most High God? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Right? So the brother referenced their scripture, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, about how, hey, guess what? There's nothing new under the sun. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse number 15. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past. God requireth that which is past. So that which is to be is that which is already done. Right. So I'm going to read one more scripture to pair up that scripture. And this is going to paint a mindset in which the scriptures have us think. So Ecclesiastes chapter 3 said, hey, guess what? The Most High God requireth that which is past. You understand that? And that which shall be has already been. The same thing as Ecclesiastes 1. And guess what? There's nothing new under the sun. Now check this precept out in the book of Romans, chapter 8 and verse number 29. For whom he did foreknow, right? So the Most High God, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So predestination is in the Bible. There's also a scripture that's going to tell you that the Most High God's judgments are like unto a ring. Scriptures teach cause and effect. You understand that? So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to reading your horoscopes and believing in these zodiac signs to predict your character and who you are as a person, this is contrary to the Most High God, because these things are predestinated according to our spirit, according to the Most High God, right? Predestination is in the Bible, meaning before you're born on the earth, before you're got your Panthers on and things of that nature, you are your future is predestinated. You understand that? In the trials and the tribulations and the choices that's set in front of you in your life is already predestinated. The Most High God already know what you're gonna do, man. But it's up to us, right? Having that power of choice to make the right decision, to be the best person that we possibly can. You understand that? So that goes to show you that this whole mindset of wanting to check out my zodiac sign or believing in my zodiac sign is off. And I want to mention this again, right? About how these images, right? When you typing in these zodiac signs and you're going off the images, people put this on necklaces, people put it on wristbands, people put it on shirts, socks, whatever the case may be, man. This is also a part of the sin, because you're giving reference to these ideologies. You're giving reference to these things. So you're not even supposed to give reference to it. The Lord said in the book of 1 Thessalonians, hey, guess what? Abstain from all appearance of evil. So just stay away from it, and understanding that this mindset of my horoscope, what my horoscope is saying, the mindset, you know what? I kind of want to share my screen real fast, real quick. Salaki. I really want to show this real fast. Exactly. All right. So let's put this up there real fast. So y'all can see the screen, right?
Con, you good?
All right. So look at this. This month's horoscope, right? Horoscopes, all signs. Look at this, and this is fair use, like the brother said. Look at this. Look at these people that give you these projections, right? The point is that there's no essence of. Look at this. Look at this. There's no essence of God. There's no essence of being an Israelite. There's no essence of being righteous. Look at this. Wow, look at this smile. All right, that's enough of that. The point is that, man, there's no essence of what the scriptures is actually saying. So, like we kicked off this video to start, you understand that? We always got to keep in mind what the Lord said, the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. And anything outside of that is when we're going to end up in sin. You understand that? So stop waking up in the morning and checking your horoscope and thinking that that's going to become true. Instead, you can wake up in the morning, you can throw up a prayer unto the Most High, what you see fit over your life, and hope that the Most High God got the same intentions for you, man, and keep it pushing. That's all it is, man. So leave the horoscopes and all that stuff alone. It's like, Kanye, you got it.
Con, mighty points, right? Right. So I'm gonna share my screen, go back to that, and go back to that article I had earlier. Right. So it says what the Sumerians and Babylonians, okay, not Israel, all right. These are heathen nations. It says by around the middle of the second millennium BC, appeared to have had many divination practices. They looked at spots on the liver and the entrails of animals, for example, and their idea that watching planets and stars was a way to keep track of where gods were in the sky can be traced to the Venus tablet of Amasaduka. It says this tablet, which is dated to the first millennium BC and tracks the motion of Venus, is one of the earliest pieces of what's been called Babylonian planetarian omens. The ancient Egyptians contributed the idea that patterns of stars made up constellations, though which the sun appears to move at a specific times during the year. It says it's thought that all these ideas came together when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt around 330 BC. Right. So let's go to the scriptures real quick. Right. We're going to go to Romans chapter 1, verse 21. It says, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God unto an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-legged foot beasts, and creeping things. Do we not see that on that chart that the brother brought up earlier? Right? You have what you call earth signs, you have what you called what is it? Fire signs. What else do they have? Water signs. And when you look at the water signs, they have literally like the so-called Cancer zodiac sign is a representation of a crab. All of these things is what it's talking about right here in the scriptures. And it says, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness though the lusts of their own hearts, because that we know that the heart is desperately wicked. It says what? To dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. You get another one. We're going to go into NLT and get Isaiah chapter 47 and verse number 12. And it says, now use your magical charms. Use the spells you have worked at all these years. Maybe they will do you some good. Maybe they can make someone afraid of you. All the advice, the horoscopes that the brother was talking about, all the advice you receive has made you tired. Where are all your astrologers? Those stargazers who make predictions each month. Let them stand up and save you from what the future holds. And we can see what the future holds in Matthew chapter 24, right? And all throughout Revelation. We know what's coming, right? But can these enchantments, can these zodiac signs, these filthy horoscopes, can they save us? Can they give us direction in that time of judgment? Reading on, it says, let them stand up and save you from what the future holds. But they are like straw burning in a fire. They cannot save themselves from the flame. You will get no help from them at all. Their hearth is no place to sit for warmth. And in all your friends, those with whom you've done business since childhood, will go their own ways, turning a deaf ear to your cries. So you got to understand, man, the Most High God, he's not playing. And the destruction that he says is coming is coming. And those who that are joined to him, as it says in the book of Isaiah, was at chapter 13, will be thrust through. So when you're caught reading these horoscopes and looking forward to it as direction, like the brother was talking about, guess what? You're going to be thrust through and you're going to be burned like a straw in a flame of fire. We're going to get another account, right? We're going to go to Daniel chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 13. And it says, then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou that Daniel, which art of the children of captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, that the light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. So there's a king, all right, that had Daniel come up to him. You understand? Had ordered him to him, right? And he says, okay, you are wise. You are a wise man. Okay, I heard about you. Skipping down to what? Verse 15. It says what? And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing, talking about a horoscope, right? And make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they cannot show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Because that's what we look at the horoscopes for, to dissolve doubts, right? To get direction, right? We literally place, right, this astrology as our God. That's where we mess up at, okay? That's when we go into idolatry. Reading on, it says, now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about the neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Watch this. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high God have Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all the people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him, who he slew, and whom he would keep alive, and whom he would set up, and whom he would be put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from the kingly throne, and they took his glory from him and he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him like the grass like oxen, and his body was set before the dew of heaven, till he knew that the most high God ruled in the kingdom of men, that he appointed over him forever he will. Right? So Daniel understood who the most high God was, just like how that phenomenal account is in Bell of the Dragon, right? Daniel knew who his God was, just like the other Daniel knew, right? You got to understand, you need to choose forth this day who you will serve, as Joshua 24 and verse 15 says. You understand? Because in Bell of the Dragon, there was another king that tried to get him to worship an idol god, but he chose to serve his God. He understood that it had a mouth that moveth not, eyes and didn't see not, ears and didn't hear not. He understood it was an idol, and we serve the Most High God. You understand? So you need to choose forth this day who you will serve. Okay. I think that's it, right? Yeah, Con. Um, Con, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it there. I'm gonna go ahead and yield. Get in there, Casadio.
Con. Brothers cooking, right? And I'm sure I wanna play this one video while we're on the topic of the zodiacs real quick. Like I say, it's pointless at the end of the day. As the brother I was bringing out, you talk about these horoscopes, living your day to day by these horoscopes. When at the end of the day, it was the Lord that one granted you the grace to open your eyes and draw breath that morning, and two, he also created the sun and the moon and the stars, and he didn't create them so that you can look to them for help. He created them to give you exactly what he said: lights and signs for seasonal changes. That's all, right? But our people like to be gung ho about the zodiac. We have to live our life based on what a horoscope says. Well, let's get a little something about this horoscope. I'm gonna share my screen. It's a big head. Brothers, let me know if they see it.
You good, King?
Fair use.
Astrology is very tempting. Modern life is confusing. The stars, according to astrology, offer this independent cosmic guidance to hard decisions. That's what we might call the astrological temptation. You don't have to make a decision. The stars will make it for you. The planets will make it for you.
Around 1000 BC, the ancient Babylonians studied the positions of the stars to create a calendar for planting and harvesting. What they observed laid the foundation for astrology.
They were particularly enamored of the stars as gods. So they began to do systematic observations and computations of the positions. By about 500 or 600 BC, they started doing what we call horoscopic astrology. And that's using the zodiac.
The zodiac divides the heavens into 12 parts, each represented by a major constellation. Our connection to the zodiac is determined by the position of the sun and constellations at the exact time of our birth. Astrologers see a direct correlation between these constellations and our personalities.
Zodiac means a circle of animals because most of the constellations are of animals.
Again, fair use.
Aries the ram, Taurus the bull, Scorpio the scorpion. It's very lyrical in a way because if you think about, well, if the sun is in Aries, then this modern psychological astrology, then that sort of person is like a ram.
That's magical thinking. That's sort of symbolic thinking. It has nothing to do with the reality of those stars or the reality of our lives.
Dr. Andrew Frocknoy teaches astronomy at Foothill College. He says astronomical science does not support astrology.
This all was set up, thousands of years ago when they didn't know what the stars were. But it just shows the weakness of this whole argument.
Scientific findings reveal that the Earth is slowly shifting off its axis, causing a slow drift away from the sun. It's a phenomenon known as precession.
Where we see the sun against the stars slowly changes. Every 2,000 years or so, we shift by one constellation, 1/12 of the.
Again, we're kind of taking Esau word for it, but the point's coming up.
Zodiac. You no longer have the signs and the constellations lined up. So if someone says, I'm a Virgo, and they think that that means that when they were born, the sun was in the group of stars called Virgo, they're wrong. Today, because of precession, the sun was actually in Leo. So we're all reading the wrong horoscope.
Again, we're taking Esau word for it because he say every 2,000 years, like he had the ability to calculate something like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's a science called astronomy, not to be confused with astrology, which is the study of horoscopes and zodiacs. Astronomy is literally just the study of the position of these stars and not the powers that they have or not have. It's just literally there. It's just like geography, but with celestial bodies, so to speak. So an astronomer will have more of an understanding of these things, not because he's deified them, but because he's literally just observing them, right? So a lot of our people are following a practice that they don't even understand that they're completely inaccurate in it. It's like they're walking around telling each other it's 3:00, it's time to have lunch, when really it's 7:15, it's time to have dinner. That's the type of time our people are on, and they don't understand it because they hold so wholeheartedly to a set of beliefs that was given by the heathens, right? So, but how should we be? How should we act towards this type of wickedness, so to speak? Well, we saw earlier that King Solomon, through the influence of all of his wives, had gotten into this type of nonsense. And it was King Josiah who kind of started destroying these things, right? It's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23. Start from the top, but we're going to jump down a little bit. Verse 1, it says, And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with them, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read there in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord, right? So this is while they were putting the temple back together, right? They found this book of the law. And it was something that, mind you, it was already on his spirit. The Lord had put it on his spirit to kind of redo this temple. And then he kind of solidified it by them finding this book. And this book was delivered to him, and he actually getting to read the law for the first time, right? Jump down to verse 4, right? It says, And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keeper of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for all the hosts of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven. Right? So we should be tearing these things down. We shouldn't be playing with it. We shouldn't be indulging in it. We should literally, and I mean, granted, we living in 2025. We can't just kind of go burn somebody zodiac tattoo or pull off the little necklaces or the little beads or whatever, and we can't do that. We'd be in jail before 3 o'clock. But we should be rebuking these things, right? We should be waking our people up, telling them, hey, that's wickedness that you are in. That's evil what you're doing. It's witchcraft at the end of the day. Just to keep it funky. It's witchcraft, right? I mean, I had another video talking about how literally sun worship, how these heathens literally tricked us into worshiping the sun, right? But for the sake of time, I won't get into it, right? We saw earlier when we were looking into Astrology, the moon goddess, that she's a counterpart of Chemosh, aka Molech, which are other names that we read already, which was the sun god, right? All of these so-called pagan holidays that we celebrate, they all come about through the worship of the sun, moon, and the stars. And our people don't realize it. But when you read these scriptures and when you start looking into these names that it's talking about, these idols that the Most High is talking about, you start to realize real quick, oh snap, this is what the whole world is into, right? And what we have to understand is, again, the Most High God created these things, right? Brother had a precept. I didn't want to snatch it, but it basically talks about who told you to worship the created thing versus the creator, right? At the end of the day, real quick, the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, right, verse 27. It says, "For the worshiping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil," right? For either they are mad when they be merry, or prophesy lies, or live unjustly, or else lightly forswear themselves. And that's exactly what our people do when they believe in their horoscopes, when they believe in their daily, what they call affirmations, based off of the alignment of certain celestial bodies, right? At the end of the day, none of that stuff means anything. We have the Most High God, right? And we see an account of that in the scriptures. And this is something that one of my favorite accounts, personally, right? I'm going to get it and I'm going to pass it. Book of Joshua, chapter 10, right? If the sun, moon, and the stars meant so much, they had so much of an authority, so much of an influence on our prosperity, and how do you rectify this? This book of Joshua, chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 9. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night, and the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth Horon, and smote them to Azekah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Verse 12, here's the point. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon, in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. and there was no day like that before it or after it. And the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel, right? If the sun, moon, and the stars had that much influence, had that much power over your life, then why did Joshua feel like he could tell the sun and the moon, "Hey, be still until I do my stuff," as they say on the West Coast, right? Be still until we finish doing what we're doing out here. You have to rectify that, Israel. Either the sun, moon, and the stars have power over you, or the Most High God, who has power over them, have power over you, right? And with that, I yield.
Con. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and end it, man, as a part one. We'll come back next week and do the part two. Brother Alisha, in an hour, he's gonna be holding camp, and we wanna respect his time on that. And we also gotta get ready for camp as well, here in a little bit. So hey, with that, we love you, Israel. Hey, until next week, for part two, History of Astrology, we say Shalom.
Shalom, Israel.